To the general meeting of City of South Fulton. I did fumble when I said South Fulton. We don't become Renaissance until December. So thank you for being here. At this time, Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Okay. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, you may first entertain a motion to close your executive session.
I'm sorry. I didn't change that motion.
I would like to make a motion to close executive session. I second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think that's unanimous. There are some, you want to make some announcements after the executive session?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. First, action that was taken, well, the only action that was taken by the City Council during the executive session was action to delay the transition of Parks and Recreation to the end of June 2018, and that motion did pass unanimously. On behalf of Mayor Edwards, I would also like to make an announcement that the mayor hereby appoints Mr. Philip Edelweed to the position of Chief Administrative Officer effective today, November 28, 2017. At the same time, the mayor will initiate the process of hiring a permanent city manager by identifying an executive search firm to provide a list of finalists no later than January 30th, 2018, for the mayor's consideration so that a nomination can be made by the mayor and confirmation can be made by the city council.
Okay. Is that correct, Connie? Okay.
I'm sorry, I do have a question. That's under the qualified city, I'm sorry, what is the title exactly? Acting city manager? So that falls under
Acting
Administrator.
administrator.
acting city administrator, does that fall under section 3.24? It's in the charter under section 3.24. Do we need to vote on that? Because I believe section 3.24 says that it's subject to our approval as a council, so I think we have to take a vote on that.
I mean, council, do you agree?
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you meant legal counsel or city council. 3.24 authorizes that the phrase city administrative officer is there, but a city administrative officer is there to exercise powers in the case of a city manager's temporary absence or physical or mental disability. We have neither such case, so while the title's the same, the section does not seem to apply.
All right.
So, I'm sorry, what section of our charter governs this position that we just appointed Philip Edelweed to?
I think there would be several that would address the situation where you're appointing a person to serve in various functions and duties. I can go through some of them now, but it would not be a complete answer.
Listen.
Beginning with, in the transition period, there is a provision that allows the council, including the mayor, as a member of the council, to make personnel decisions. That is in the section dealing with transition 7.16. There's also within the mayor's authority, certainly in the absence of a city manager, powers to prepare for the administration of the city. It would fall under that. Would be authority to do it as well. There's likely, like I said, more. Those are two that I would go to initially.
All right, and so, for the benefit of those in the audience, what are the powers and duties of this qualified city administrator, and where can we find that in the charter?
The position is not one that is established by the charter. Just
So
as
the
there are
position
many
is established
variations.
in the charter, what are the powers and duties of this individual, of this office?
I think that has not been determined to my knowledge. in terms of a personnel matter, and I would look to what that is, but there's not one in the charter.
So to be clear, we've appointed someone to a position that does not exist in the charter with powers and duties that are not enumerated in the charter.
That is correct.
Okay.
There are several employees in the city that are appointed to positions that are not specified in the charter.
Thank you.
I think, as we move forward, we had lengthy discussions in the back. And I would ask my colleagues to make sure that they have all of their questions answered and cleared up before we make any nomination for anything. So, where are we? Did you read the statement?
Yes, sir. The statement's been read, and I would suggest that you adjourn the work session.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
Executive session.
Executive session, rather. I thought we did.
You're just ending today's meeting, the work session.
Okay, I got you. So I'll entertain a motion to close out the executive session.
Work session.
Work session, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to close the work session.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye? Aye. That passes unanimously. I also want to announce that Councilwoman Gilliard is here, and she had a little problem. She went home, did a little rest. So I want to acknowledge the fact that she was here early. At this time, we'd like the chaplain to come through and give us an invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Let us all stand. And at this time, can we all just bow our heads for a moment of silence in remembrance of Wayne Skip Wright Jr., our administrative with code enforcement, who passed on this past Friday. Dear gracious God, we come with our heads bowed and yet our hearts are lifted up. We thank you for life. We thank you for those that have passed our way, but most of all, we thank you for those that are present. We ask for your divine intervention, your divine reminder that you are the source of life and source of wisdom and knowledge. So we ask that you allow the presence of the Holy Spirit to fall afresh upon us in this room. Bless our mayor and our council and everyone assembled, so that all will be said and done according to your will and your way. And for that, oh God, we give you the praise and the honor and the glory. Let us all say, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Murphy?
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, as previously stated, you do have a quorum, and the only person absent is Councilwoman Gilliard. First item for your consideration is approval of the consent agenda. You have the meeting minutes from Wednesday, November 8th, the meeting minutes from Monday, November 13th, and the meeting minutes from Tuesday, November 14th. In addition, there are two proclamations spread upon the minutes, sponsored by Mayor Edwards and Councilwoman Jackson.
Before we go, I want the minutes to reflect that Councilwoman Gilliard was here. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented under item number 4.
Second.
Properly moved and second in discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lee, are you, sir? That's unanimous. Mr. Clerk, that passes.
Thank you. On page 5, approval of the regular meeting agenda, Mr. Mayor and members of council, there is one correction that I would like to make to the agenda. There is an ordinance that is currently on page 3 of 4, under Roman numeral 4, that's under ordinances for second reading, adoption of an ordinance relating to the regulation of sexually oriented businesses in the city of South Fulton boundaries and for other purposes. This is currently being sponsored by Ralph, and Councilwoman Jackson has let me know that she's also a co-sponsor of this ordinance. She has also been working with legal counsel prior to its presentation.
Okay. We have proclamation. Yes, you got it listed in the reverse order today, so let's adopt the agenda, then we'll, our normal process. I didn't say no about it.
I move that we adopt the regular agenda as presented.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. Under proclamations and recognitions, we have Councilman Baker has a proclamation recognizing FACS, or the FAKS, Allied Health Education Center Appreciation Day.
Mr. Cargo, and I, please, as well as anyone associated with Facts Allied Health. As they come, I would like to let you guys know a little bit about Facts Allied Health. They're a staple of health education services in our community, especially on the Old National area. As I established the rapport myself, Ms. Jackson, Councilman Khalid, with these individuals who have been dedicated to edifying our community on issues regarding health, as well as allowing them and assisting them in maintaining and receiving various certifications to be productive. We've received as a city several scholarships and offers from Facts Allied Health, and on today we will give them this proclamation. Okay, and it reads, whereas Facts Allied Health Education Center, a family-owned medical training center located in the heart of Old National Highway at 5530 Old National Highway, Suite C, in the city of South Fulton, was established in April of 2001 and operated by Mr. Khalil S. Carbo and his daughter, I. Carbo. And whereas the mission of which is to design programs that prepare students to function safely and efficiently and to be ready for entry-level positions in their respective fields. And whereas the school initially offered certified nursing assistant training, CNA, with the approval of the Georgia Medical Care Foundation, since then, the school has expanded and now is accredited to train in patient care technician, phlebotomy, EKG, pharmacy technician, medical billing and coding, and hemodialysis.
Yes, good job, Mr.
And whereas since its creation, the school has enrolled, graduated, and placed over 1,500 students into jobs with local health care facilities. Facts Allied Health Education Center offers South Fulton residents and neighboring communities educational funding and employment resources. Each quarter, the school conducts a free community health care employment fair. And whereas Facts Allied Health Education Center not only equips their students in the obtainment of certification, they also provide life skills and life coaching, which aligns students with success. Facts has also assisted high school students as well as young adults throughout the city of South Fulton per Councilman Baker's two initiatives, tuition scholarships. And whereas this gym of the Old National area also started a home care agency based in South Fulton in 2010, which is named Allied Health Services of Georgia. This home care employs students from Facts Allied Health, and these new certified nursing assistants provide seniors and disabled individuals in the city of South Fulton and neighboring communities with above and beyond in-home care. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of South Fulton congratulates Facts Allied Health Education Center and their contributions to the citizens of South Fulton, and do hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 28, 2017 as Facts Allied Health Education Center Appreciation Day in the city of South Fulton, Georgia.
All right, well, thank you so much for this honor. We've been doing this for 16 years, and then this is a whole family up here. We're not family by blood, but we're family by the hard work we do. So all these people that you see up on stage, these are people who were students in our school, turned around and did home care in the community, and they're taking care of your loved ones and your parents and all disabled people in the area and all around. So thank you all so much for this recognition, and thank you, Dad, for starting this business.
Thank you all.
Mr. Cargo is a man of few words, and he's offered students and young people, well, actually, he's not a man of few words. I've said in his office. And the thing is, he's offered ways, he's found ways in our community to fund several of our young people in these certifications and putting them out for employment, young, old, as well as the latest initiative in reference to in-home care for our elderly people in South Fulton. So please stay tuned for the information regarding that, and please check them out. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Take a picture real quick of us. Yeah, sure. You know how it works?
I think I can figure it out.
Okay. Take that picture. Smile.
You know what, is that black thing in the corner? Is...
No, that's just the iPhone.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. Thank you. You're the best. I said, Lord, I done messed up the picture. Thank you all. Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, you're now in the public comment section of today's meeting. Speakers will be granted up to 2 minutes each, and public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. Speakers will not be allowed to yield or donate their time to other speakers. Mr. Mayor and members of council, we have received 8 speaker cards. If the first 4 speakers would please approach the podium at this time. Dr. Barbara Cunningham, Mr. Jimmy Smith, Ms. Glenda Collins, and Ms. Rosalind Frey. Dr. Cunningham, you can go ahead.
Really, it wasn't a public comment. It was really a question with reference to the naming of the city of South Fulton. When was this decided that it was going to be Renaissance? I'm hearing from somebody over north telling me that it was Renaissance. When was the name decided and how many people voted on it?
We'll get that.
You okay?
We'll get that information.
Okay.
Mr. Jimmy Smith?
Yes. My name is Jimmy Smith, and my comment is for the city employees, police and fire and other city police officers, please don't forget them. They have a hard job and we don't need to play musical chairs. So I urge you, whenever you get a chance, please keep them in mind. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, if you would have them to say also what this is going to add to. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. When I came this evening and saw the sign, City of South Fulton, I said, I don't need to be here. It's not going to be called Renaissance. And the sister told me, oh yeah, in December it's going to be called Renaissance. My neighbor told me of the name Renaissance, and I put all of my TV viewing on, what do you call it? When you tape things, because I could not, I was floored when I heard of the name Renaissance. Renaissance, in the 1300s, it resonates with medieval transforming into modern era. So I thought, were we thought of as medieval when we were named College Park? Nothing about Renaissance resonates with me. I am not European, and the name, the City of College Park, I thought would be a good name, but as a young lady that came before me, I know I missed a couple of meetings, but I surely would have not voted for the name Renaissance if I had been present. And I thought if I could be colloquial for a moment, it is very hard to spell. You can go anywhere in the United States and mention the name College Park, and you're recognized. And if I also could be a spokesperson for the young rappers, it's going to be very hard to use Renaissance in a rap song. We were put on the map as College Park in rap songs. When I think of the name Renaissance, I think of a southern town way up somewhere in North Georgia, where I would dare not be after 6 o'clock at night if it's dark. Now, I know I'm just venting because I was told by the sister that it's already going to be voted on in December, but I'm glad for the opportunity to at least voice my displeasure with the name. Thank you.
I believe that speaker. Thank you. Freddie?
Yes.
The next speaker is Ms. Linda Collins, and at the request of the mayor and council, again, I'm requesting each of you to identify what district you live in. That helps let them know who's representing their district. So following Ms. Linda Collins, if Mr. Darius Rollins would please approach the podium, Ms. Josie Brown, and Ms. Kendall Henry. Ms. Collins.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Belinda Collins, Fellwood, District 5. We must work not to become the industrial area of the county. We want to keep a clean environment for our health and well-being. And some of the restrictions include controlling building of warehouses, the buffers between the residential areas, and the warehouse, and we need a warehouse ordinance to control the 18-wheelers that ride up and down our streets in the residential areas. We want a clean, smart, progressive city. My suggestion to you is that we buy a truck that has a vacuum on it. There are two ways of doing this. You can have a truck that has a vacuum, or you can attach the vacuum to a truck. I went to a city over the weekend, and the city was extremely clean. It is because they vacuum, and that means that the leaves and debris does not go in the sewers. And this is something that we need, and we need to see if it can be funded with the help of the trash collectors. And I do have the specifications for it, and the trucks are built in America. Thank you.
Next speaker is Darius Rollins. Ms. Josie Brown, would you all please come down so that we know you're here. After Ms. Josie Brown, Ms. Kendall Henry. Mr. Rollins.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I hope you all enjoyed a wonderful holiday. I'm here tonight to speak on police. The single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it is actually taking place. And the point I'm trying to make is, since we've become a city, we've lost, I'm sorry, District 3, Thaxton Point Subdivision, Councilperson Willis is my representative. We've lost good officers, and you know this. Investigative skills, community knowledge for something as simple as knowing how to drive into Walden Park and actually find the clubhouse. Driving into Thaxton Point and knowing that it's one way in and one way out. What's more important to me, coming into my community and knowing the difference between a young person that may look, or old person, that may look suspicious versus my son coming home from Westlake track practice with a hoodie on just to keep his body warm. They know this, they know the difference. I know we've hired good officers, we've sworn in good officers, and don't look at me because they won't tell you, but read the body language and look at the faces of the officers around the room. If you subtract those who are on the desk versus those who are actually in the field, do you feel comfortable in a serious call that you're going to get timely backup? Timely backup. Or are you going to depend on me to back you up if you come to my house? Now don't laugh, I'm a former Marine, I got you. But you don't want me, you want them. So please, in the spirit of communication, and I know they can't talk to you, there are things you can't and won't say to them, but one of the biggest things that happen in a business environment that causes people to leave is that lack of communication. Please come up with some way to communicate with these good officers, public safety, all of Fulton County, but I'm here tonight specifically for our officers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Josie Brown, and I'm from District 3. Miss Helen is my council person. And my biggest concern, other than the city naming and police not, believe me, I believe police is important. The issue that I had is that the council members don't seem to always be on the same accord. It seems to be a lot of tension, a lot of, this is my group, this is your group. So I'm trying to figure out, what are we gonna do to stop the Renaissance 5 against the Renaissance 2? Whether you're right or you're wrong, you should be able to come together to make policies that's best for your constituents. Not for personal gain, not for personal interest, not for promotions, but for the people. That's my biggest issue I want to see addressed tonight. And then we can get our police in line because you'll be in line. Then we can get our trash and recreations in line because you'll be in line. So at this point, right now, I need y'all to take accountability for y'all actions. And that's all I just wanted to say.
Following Ms. Kendall Henry, the last two speakers are Yvonne Morris Grant and Ms. Tony Oliver.
Hello, I'm Kendall Henry, and I'm a junior at Westlake High School. I'm in District 1, and I live in the Cambridge Commons neighborhood. As an upcoming resident, I have a huge concern with the naming process not involving all of the citizens. So we were just informed recently that the new name is Renaissance, Georgia. And so I started a petition, and I got over 600 signatures as of today. And many of the people behind me might have signed it, even people that might not be in attendance of the meeting now. And our biggest concern is that we weren't involved in the voting process. In the newsletter that was sent, there was the sentence says that the city council voted to narrow down the choices to 3 names: Atlanta Heights, Renaissance, and Wolf Creek, and Renaissance took the crown. I also conducted a survey to the people who signed my petition to see where the 3, out of the 2 names that were picked, I noted other for Wolf Creek. Renaissance only got 2 votes. Atlanta Heights got 32, and the other, which would represent anything other than those 2, got 41. So I really, as a 16-year-old that is not able to vote now, I just have a concern with not being able to voice my opinions as the time comes for me being an upcoming resident here in the city of South Fulton for Renaissance. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am LaVon Morris Grant. I'm in District 3 with Ms. Willis. And I am here representing my organization, Makash Healing Network. We are here in the South Fulton area. I am the advocate and founding executive director. Makash Healing Network is a social justice organization working with victims of crime, and that can be murder, burglary, domestic violence, sexual assault, those types of issues in the community or throughout South Fulton. And we wanted to introduce ourselves to you as the council and to the residents that many of our residents do not know that they are eligible for victim assistance. And we would like to come to your different districts to bring a state representative from CJCC to talk to the residents of how they can fill out the victim assistance application for any type of crime, and knowing that they'll help towards funeral costs, they help towards therapy for children who may have witnessed their parent or family member being murdered or in any type of violent crime. And so I have some brochures here, and I have some business cards that I can leave with you all. And we have secured the grant to do a lot of the work in the community. One of the things we noticed is that here in South Fulton, we have very limited resources and access to resources in South Fulton. Everything has to be accessed into Atlanta. And so we have started this culturally specific program, and on paper, we are the only nonprofit organization in the state of Georgia focusing on the African American community. So I would love to work with you all or partner with you on some grants at some point, and to let the community know that Makash Healing Network is here to help, even if we offer referral services that they may not know that is available to them. And a lot of the services are free of charge, and they may not have an understanding of that. So again, I'm Makash Healing Network, and look forward to working with you.
The last speaker was Tony Oliver. They're not here. Okay, they are here.
Good evening. My name is Tony Oliver. I'm in District 6, and I live in Ashley Downs. My concern has to do with lighting. And I know from various community meetings such as this over the years, it's been an issue that's been raised several times. And I also know that we continue to be very concerned about crime. While lighting does not eliminate crime, it certainly deters it. And one of the things that I've noticed as an example is that when you get off of 85 onto Old National, it's like the lights go out. I know that there are communities that have absolutely no lighting. And one of the areas that I'm particularly concerned about, because I go to the dog park a lot, is the canine crossing. We've seen increase in break-ins, car break-ins, and we really need to have lighting in that area as well. But just in the community at large, I would certainly hope that lighting would be an issue that we would pay particular consideration to.
The next item under business number 8, resolution, Roman numeral 1, resolution establishing citywide neighborhood watch program for the city of South Fulton and for other purposes. This item is sponsored by Councilmember Gumbs under resolution 2017-072. Councilwoman Gumbs.
Good evening. I felt that this resolution was very important to get our citizens involved in the recent incidents that we've been having in our community regarding public safety. After doing some research and understanding and looking at other cities, they have been successful with the City Neighborhood Watch program. We did have this program in Fulton County, but it has been dormant for quite some time. And I think this resolution, bringing it over into our new city, will give our residents the opportunity to participate, those homeowner associations to reactivate or revitalize their neighborhood watch program. After speaking with the police department here in the city of South Fulton, this is something that we can all get engaged with and making sure that we take our active part as citizens to help out with our limited resources. So I felt that it was very important that we move forward with trying to establish and revitalize our citywide neighborhood watch program. So this will give you the energy and the opportunity, especially in your communities, to go out and establish a new program, and then also having the support and resources from the council and from the city police department. And I think that we have to do our active part as well. So I make the motion of adopting the resolution for the citywide neighborhood watch program in the city of South Fulton.
Second.
Been properly moved to second. Any discussion?
Yes. Is there anyone here that can speak to what we would need to do to establish this in the new city of South Fulton?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm Lieutenant Rogers with Fulton County Police Department. I'm currently the supervisor over the Special Services Division.
Roger, you go to the microphone.
We got a wireless before you play.
Right here. Let's try this again. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Lieutenant Rogers. I am the supervisor of the Special Services Division, which encompasses our community-oriented policing division. In reference to Neighborhood Watch Program, this is a program that is set up to help the communities help us help you in a more efficient and a more effective way. If you're interested in starting a Neighborhood Watch Program in your community, all you have to do is reach out to us. We will then in turn come out to you and we will give you the guidelines and the tools for establishing the Neighborhood Watch Program. Now, with the Neighborhood Watch Program, it's a very effective program to have in your communities. If you look around the room now, with the number of people that are sitting here, there are not enough officers to set a car in each and everyone's driveway. But guess what? You being active in your community and having an active Neighborhood Watch Program will allow you to police your community. Believe it or not, there are more of you in your communities than there are police. There's more eyes. Means you see more suspicious things taking place. And all it takes is for you to come together as one and communicate with each other. That involves block captains and things of that sort, but that's something that we can get into later on if you should decide to start a Neighborhood Watch Program or even reestablish a Neighborhood Watch Program that you once had in your community that is now kind of going to sleep or taking a nap. So it's definitely a great program. It brings the community and the police together, and with us working together, we can rid crime in this new city. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. I think it's unanimous and passes.
The next item is an amendment and supplement to resolution number 2017-060, Fulton Industrial CID Agreement under resolution 2017-073.
Colleagues, we're trying to amend a resolution we voted on the last time. If you remember when we voted on CID, there was also the motion included expansion. Well, that language did not get in the final document. So this is just basically saying that we need to include the language of expansion because that's the way the motion was written on that day. So I entertain a motion.
I just want to clarify on page 32, is that under the second, where it says, item number 3, after be it here be resolved, is that supposed to be there?
That's the language that was in a whereas clause before, and it's been requested that it be the operative provision, so we're just moving language down.
The numbering is not a sequence.
Because it's amending the existing
Okay, I
form, so that it would, once this is added to it, it would flow 1, 2, 3.
Okay, understood. So I make a motion that we amend and supplement Resolution 2017-060 with passage of Resolution number 2017-073.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Next item is a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between Fulton County Schools and the City of South Fulton to provide for a school bus safety enforcement program that's sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Brown under Resolution 2017-074.
Councilwoman Brown.
Resolution 2017-074 is an agreement with Fulton County Schools that would allow for camera enforcement of individuals who speed past school buses. I think we all are committed to making sure our children are safe. I think this particular initiative was addressed to the entire council and to the citizens who participated in our last work session. And so that presentation really covered how the program is laid out. I don't know if there are any additional questions.
Ms. Jackson.
I guess I'm trying to find out what type of additional personnel would be required from the municipality.
Based on the information that was shared in the presentation, I think they estimated that it'd be less than a minute to look at the footage in terms of making sure that it's a valid ticket. And so basically it would be minimal.
But what I'm referencing is for the cost, you know, for, as far, we have to have some type of administrative personnel on our side.
Right. So I think when they did that presentation, they said they can't project how many because it hasn't been in place, but they said the target takes about a minute to review any tickets. So if we just said 30, again, this is just speculation because we don't have any data yet to substantiate that, but it's a minimal amount of time.
And Ms. Jackson, that we already had.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So we don't have to add any additional employees to.
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am. Was there a second?
Just for clarification, it was also mentioned that it was going to be a split in the revenue for any violators, 50-50?
Yes.
Okay. 50-50 to the Board of Education, because a lot of the residents weren't here. 50% to the Board of Education and 50% to the City of South Fulton.
Correct, that's correct. Did we get a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Councilor Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Roman numeral 4, resolution approving the inmate detention agreement between the City of South Fulton and East Point Police Department as under Resolution 2017-075.
Judge, are you going to address it?
Yes. Yes, Mayor. Good evening. I'm sorry. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This agreement is with the East Point Police Department. East Point is, if I'm not mistaken, Captain, the only municipality that operates a jail in our relative locality, and we need to find a place for jail services. East Point is the only one that operates one. The one in Union City is being operated by Fulton County. So the only one that's available is East Point. The contract is attached. It's their standard contract. It's been reviewed by our legals. So it's up for consideration by the council.
Yes. What's the cost?
$60 for 24 hours plus a $5 fingerprinting charge.
65.
I think it's $60, isn't it $60?
$65
okay.
per evening.
I'm sorry, $65.
24-hour period.
Okay.
Mr. Green, does that cost include medical expenses or insurance?
It does not. We will have to absorb that cost. No, not absorb it, but the city would have to take care of that cost. In addition to, I mean, this contract is simply for them to house inmates. That's it. And so should someone require medical attention, there's a procedure in place for assuring that they get that, but the cost is borne by the city.
I was speaking with someone from another municipality, and then they informed me that cost can run up to the hundreds of thousands a year. Do we just have any idea of what that might cost us?
There's no way to speculate a medical cost. However, it's absolutely necessary. I mean, well, A, we have to have a jail facility. This is really our only option. And then B, whatever medical is required, we absolutely have to provide it, and we have to pay it regardless of the cost. You know, obviously they'll go to Grady, and whatever Grady charges is what we'll have to absorb.
And my suggestion would just be to maybe get some comps from other cities, just so we can build that in our budget and kind of prepare for that when those bills come.
Now, I will tell you, will suggest to you this. Our city is quite larger than some of the other cities that use East Point. And so I'm not certain that you're going to find an adequate comp in this particular situation. I'm just not certain that it exists. But I mean, we certainly can provide the comparables. I'm not certain that the comparables are going to change the necessity of this agreement, though.
Right, yeah, I'm not debating the necessity. I'm just saying, if it costs College Park or Union City $100,000 a year, and we are 5 times bigger than that, then maybe we might need to set aside and make sure that we have $500,000 for whatever that is.
The $67 in cost, will we recoup that in time?
There is an ordinance to address court costs, and those costs will be borne by the offender.
So $65 once he or she gets out, she will pay what we.
It will be added as a court cost,
Okay.
assuming that resolution is.
I would like to move to make a motion to approve resolution approving the contract for East Point Jail Facility to house any municipal inmates for costs in the city of South Fulton.
I second. Properly moved in second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. That passes unanimously.
Next resolution is a resolution approving the memorandum of understanding between the city of South Fulton and Union City for the use of Union City's court facilities. That's under resolution 2017-076.
We've had a development, I think you want to come up and
Yes, we've had a development as it relates to the use of Union City's courtroom. It's been delayed. I think that's just the best way to say it. It's been delayed. We're looking at a start date of January 2nd to utilize their court facilities.
I would say that it's been delayed so that we can make a clean transition from us over to them. I don't think there's any threat of us not getting the use of Union City. We just want to make sure that we have a clean transition. I feel that Union City is, when it comes to being close to where we could have been, because ladies and gentlemen, we can't be over here. Fulton County will let us be here. So I think Union City, proximity is right down the street. So there is no threat of us not getting it. We just need to clear up some MOU issues and move forward. Ms. Jackson?
I do know we briefly talked about this prior to our city manager before, but we had not talked in depth, and I'm trying to find out about, since we are going to house, the jail is going to be in East Point. Have we looked at the other facilities, East Point and College Park, to find out who would use their facilities?
I'm sorry.
When I called around to everybody was very nice and said that they would help us to get this done, okay? The reason we chose Union City is simply because of its close proximity.
So, what was the date again of when it was delayed until?
January 2nd.
And is there a cost associated with
No.
this?
So we don't have to pay for it?
We don't have to pay for it until we enter into the MOU. And so we wouldn't have to pay for it for the month of December. There were only 2 court dates in the month of December. There was a December 12th plea and arraignment calendar and a December 19th plea and arraignment calendar. Those 2 plea and arraignment calendars, my staff has reset all of those cases to the January 2nd calendar. So as it relates to court impact, we are prepared to handle all of those cases on January 2nd. But we need to clean up and firm up the MOU before it is final.
Councilwoman Jackson, the cost, as I understand, talking to the mayor, is just for simple things like electricity.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Things that it's no big item of the cost that we're gonna be paying. Go.
So the cost is, my understanding, is not going to be, it's gonna be a nominal cost, but did they give you a number?
They have not given me a number. I think just as the mayor said, they are looking at how much, the lights, the internet, that kind of thing costs. Because that's all we would be using. So they're looking at what that breaks down to for per day use for some what we use.
Councilwoman Jones,
Are we able to see the memorandum of understanding prior to?
My assumption is that it will be attached to, it is? Oh.
It is in here, but it has no cost associated.
Oh, absolutely. That part will be revised, Mr. Belafonte, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, that part will be revised to include the cost.
Okay, all right, thank you.
all right, Mr. Baker?
Yes, sir. Since this is actually a resolution, I'd like to make a motion to hold this item until December 12th meeting.
I second. Been properly moved and second to hold this item, and that would be December 12th, to hold this item to December 12th meeting. Any discussion?
Why? Are we waiting because of the cost? Are we asking to hold it? Oh, sorry. What is it?
He was next in line.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have some concerns. I want to share Councilwoman Jackson's concerns. Even though Union City is close to here, it is not close to where we'll be housing our prisoners in East Point. And I'm wondering what the cost is of transporting people between East Point and Union City. I think we might want to just check and see if College Park or East Point are available, because they might be cheaper.
I'd like to address that. East Point runs a full-time court. They have a full-time judge that has court every day. Well, we need a situation where we can run our court at least 2 full days a week and a half day. The only city that provides that within what the police recommend in terms of radius for transport is Union City. I'm sorry?
She said College Park.
No, go ahead. She talked about campus.
Okay. When I looked at it with the police, in terms of facility, space, accommodation, everything, what we believe is the best option for us right now is Union City. Union City has a huge courtroom, and we're accustomed to having relatively large dockets, so we're expecting a lot of people we need to be able to accommodate. And Union City was the best option.
I would just, again, ask us to look at College Park. I spoke with officials of College Park today, and their court is only running Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so they are available Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they are a lot closer to where we'd be housing our prisoners. Again, I'm just thinking about prisoner transport, and since we are being postponed to January, I think we have some time to maybe just look at the contract.
Now, I will tell you that there will be some additional costs to making that decision, because things have been ordered and sent out that's in Union City. So when you're thinking costs, we need to include some administrative costs that will be included.
Okay, I'm sorry, so though we have not approved this resolution, we've already ordered stationery and sent things out with Union City's name on it?
We have, the citations have to say something. They have to say something.
Citation has to say.
The citation, I didn't say the courtroom, I said the citation has to say something. We can't issue a citation with no words, no addresses, no nothing.
No, I understand, but I didn't know that we were ordering things before we had even approved the resolution.
You approved the resolution allowing the police officers to write citations in the jurisdiction. And so if you've approved the resolution to allow the officers to write the citation in the jurisdiction, then the citations necessarily had to be ordered. That would be my assumption. I mean, just following through the natural conclusion of
the approval to allow the officers to write citations in the jurisdiction. They have to have something to write those citations on. Now, yes, we can change it, but based on my research, the best option is Union City.
Right, I'm clear that we did approve something for the citations. I wasn't clear when we made that approval that we were putting a court on there that we actually don't have access to yet.
Well, you would have to.
Okay.
I mean, legally, you can't issue a citation without information about where to show up. I mean, that's just from a legal perspective, as a judge sharing jurisdictional issues, that seems to be a problem. But that problem we can resolve that should you not choose to go with Union City.
It's my recollection, we did inquire about College Park early on, and College Park was going to charge us a fee to use their courtroom. And the reason we decided to go with Union City, because they were being very collaborative, and they were trying to help the city of South Fulton out, and they were going to charge us this nominal fee, which is basically for utilities and internet. We also explored the opportunity of using the community court, the district attorney's community court, which is located next to our Fulton Industrial Building. But that also was going to be a fee, and it was limited parking. So I would ask that, you know, if it's not going to cost us but a nominal fee, that we not throw that opportunity out the window, because we do have cash flow issues that we are trying to get through our initial year of operation.
I would just like to ask that we do hold this, because there are some concerns.
Let me remind everybody that this is a revenue-producing deal here. And we need to make a decision. I talked to every mayor, one-on-one myself, and they were all abiding. They all would say, we'll make some room for you. We want to help the new city out. And so at that time, Union City, based on some of the things that Ms. Willis just said, was our best option. We got to move. We got to move. We got people that scheduled for court that we had to hold back. And once again, this is a revenue producing. Not that you can't run a city off traffic tickets now. Don't get me wrong. All right, but this is a revenue producing department, and we hope that we can move forward on this. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Well, considering we are waiting on numbers and clarity, and there's no rush before the 12th, given that we won't have anything else unless there's something that we didn't discuss.
That's your motion?
My motion is to hold until the 12th.
And second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, two opposed. All right, we hold this until the 12th. You see any problems with?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
All right. Thank you.
Motion to hold passed. That was, what, 4 yeas, 2 nays. Continuing on page 3, Roman numeral 6, a resolution approving the contract for probation, provision, and rehabilitation services. That's resolution 2017-077.
Go ahead.
Yes. Initially, when I was appointed, my initial vision was to bring probation in-house, to house it in-house and to run it in through our municipal court. Given the budget constraints, that is just not a reality right now. And so the best option that we have is to find a probation company to provide us those services. PPS, which is the name of the company, I think it's Professional Probation Services. Actually, they provide probation services for all of the municipalities in the South, I guess the South Fulton area. They also provide it for all of the municipalities in DeKalb County. In fact, they just bought their competitor. So they pretty much have a monopoly on the market. We met with them. I think it can be a great partnership. It's a year-to-year contract. I don't even know if it's year-to-year. Is year-to-year, Mr. Belafonte? Okay, so it's year-to-year contract, so, you know, if there's an issue, we can obviously resolve it, change companies. We can also bring it in-house, but they are willing to work collaboratively with us. I've expressed to them my ideas and my thoughts for probation services, and they are happy to accommodate that. And so it's my recommendation that we utilize PPS for our probation services.
Jackson, Mr. Baker? Or did I?
I'm beautiful. But anyway, can I ask some questions?
Absolutely.
Just remember me, because it might be in here and I might have missed it. What percentage of this probation fee will we be getting?
Now, that, as it relates to that contract, they collect their probation fee. We don't collect their probation fee. We don't get a percentage of that, but they don't charge us any money.
Okay.
So this doesn't cost us anything. The cost is borne by the probationer.
Okay.
And so whatever fees they collect, obviously they'll collect our fees, whatever.
And that's. Okay.
Correct, whatever, well, they'll collect that in total.
So that's not a percentage that they get off?
No, ma'am.
Gotcha.
No, ma'am. They charge a monthly monitoring fee, which I have the discretion to, you know, reduce if I deem it inappropriate, you know, for a particular case. But their fees are generated solely from the probationers paying them. Whatever they owe, in other words, if I enter a sentence, it's $100, for example, then they'll collect our $100, and then whatever fees they assess to the probationer, and I believe it's outlined in the contract, but I'm not looking at it right now.
That's fine, but that's on top. We just get our money. That's
Absolutely, at 100%.
Okay. I have one other thing. Who's going to administer the test? The drug test, those type of things? Do they have that staff?
Yes, they have staff. They actually have physical locations as well throughout the South Fulton. They don't have any in our city jurisdiction. I believe they have one in Union City, and if I'm not mistaken, in East Point. They certainly have one in Atlanta, but they have actual brick and mortar places as well that people can go into. Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Mr. Baker?
Thank you. Judge, I understand the importance of this because we need it, so I'm prepared to vote, but I just want to ask, based off your discretion, is it your projection to bring this in-house next year?
It's a little early to say that because budget projections, at least for the court, we haven't brought in, you know, there's not been any money moving in the court yet. So I don't want to say that now and then be held to it at a later time, particularly without seeing the budget projections going forward. It's my goal. I think it may be a good idea to bring it in-house. I'd like to bring it in-house, but that requires, I mean, there's laws about the number of probationers per probation officer. I mean, all of these laws, we don't have the staff, and we can't afford the staff right now, quite candidly. My hope is that at some point we can. That's my hope. But I don't want to promise you that because I haven't seen what next year's numbers look like, or even the year after that.
If we're looking good and you have the staff, that'll generate more money, so I just hope it's...
Yes, it's definitely something that I'd like to do. I just faced with the reality of what we're doing, that just wasn't a fiscally responsible option.
Understood. Thanks.
Judge, you mentioned monopoly. Are you trying to say this is a sole source?
Actually, Mayor Edwards, for this area, it is. There is PPS, and then there was another company that started with C, but they bought that company. So now they run probation in all of these municipalities through either the PPS company, or was it CJS? Yeah, I think it may be CJS, but they bought that company as well. So now they run probation for everybody.
Wow. The only reason I'm saying that because monopoly and sole source just burns my ears.
I'm sorry.
All right, so if they're not, then there's an alternative. If they have not bought another company, the alternative still favorable.
And that's correct. There's none that operate in our locality.
Mr. Lee?
I made a speech about Ferguson last week, so I won't make that again. But it appears that we have a revenue generating court and a for-profit probation company that has a monopoly. And I'm uncomfortable. That's it.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2017-077 contract for probation, supervision, and rehabilitation services.
Second.
The properly moved in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand, please. Mr. Cleese, all right again.
Thank you.
That takes you to the ordinance section of today's agenda. The first item for second reading, adoption of additional ethics ordinances. This is co-sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Brown and Councilwoman Willis under ordinance 2017-031.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
Ordinance 2017-031 seeks to move our city in the direction of becoming a city of ethics. On May 23rd, we actually passed a resolution that we would move towards seeking this designation. This particular ordinance is based on GMA's model ordinances for cities who are seeking this designation. And so it's largely based on that model, with the exception from section 1-502 going forward. We've added some additional things regarding the quorum and conduct of the mayor and city council. If there are any questions, we'll entertain them after comments from Councilwoman.
Wait, let me do this. You are the co-sponsor. You the co-sponsor?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
I would also like to add that Pro Tem Rao and myself met with the state legislators on early September, and they are also in the process, if we do not move forward with this and pass this ordinance on a local level, they will be proceeding, and I will support them to implement an ethics ordinance in our charter. So we do have over 200 cities throughout the United States that have adopted the ethics ordinance on a local level and does have this designation. And I think it is a great opportunity for us to do it as a new city on our level, on our local level, so that we do not have to have we can have the legislators focus on other pressing issues during the General Assembly. And we have a legislator sitting in the office right now, Derek Jackson, who will be supporting to move forward if we do not approve this on a local level.
Any further discussion? Ms. Jackson?
Yes. I would like to make a motion. Well, not, I would like to make an amendment, I'm sorry, to your motion. I move that the city council amend ordinance 207-031 as presented to the language, I pass it out, he told me, I'm doing as he told me to do. Pass it down there. The language being distributed now. This language will amend the definition of city official in section 1-503 and further amend recommendations of conduct by the mayor and city council related to social media and attendance at city staff meetings.
So you're asking for a friendly amendment to add section G, and what are you asking? I mean, can you explain the addition, the amendment here?
Yes.
You read it, but I need you to explain it, please.
The definition, section 1503, definition city official or official, unless otherwise expressly defined, does not include city employees, but does mean the mayor, members of the city council, municipal judges, including substitute judges, city manager, city clerk, city attorney, heads or managers of city departments, and all other persons holding positions designated by the city charter as amended. The term city official also includes all individuals, including any city employees appointed by the mayor and/or the city council as appropriate to serve on city authorities, commissions, committees, boards, task forces, or other bodies which can or may vote or take formal action or make official recommendations to the mayor, city council. And basically what I'm saying, okay, now let me go to this, section 15012, recommended conduct for the mayor and the city council, standards of conduct for city council members in the use of social media. The code of conduct for the mayor and city council requires members to act with decorum at city council meetings and treat the mayor, each other, the public, and city staff with respect. Section 2-4012, parenthesis F in parentheses. These standards of conduct transfer and apply directly to a city council's members' use of social media. Number one in definition of social media refers to freely accessible, third-party hosted, interactive, internet technologies used to produce, post, and interact through text, images, video, and audio to inform, share, promote, collaborate, or network. A non-exhaustive list of examples of social media includes Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Number two, prohibitions in use of social media. City council members, A, shall not via social media intentionally or inadvertently post confidential information, particularly information arising from closed sessions of council or committees. B, shall not use social media as a platform to treat members of the public, one another, or staff without respect. C, shall not use social media to engage in or encourage harassment, intimidation, bullying, or shaming of other fellow city council members. D, shall not use social media to engage in criticism of city staff. E, shall not, through the use of conduit, engage in any activity set forth in 1 through 4 above. H, exclusions of mayor and city council members from staff meetings. And basically, our charter I was directed, Mr. Dove and our council, they said that there is nothing that states in our charter that our members nor mayor could go to our council meetings. But I think that needs to be written, put in black and white, because sometimes people have attempted to go into meetings, they have been told they could not attend. But it's nowhere in the charter, am I correct?
This language tracks what's in the charter.
Okay, and it's just in black and white, just stating that our council or our mayor can attend meetings if they so desire. And I don't think, just putting it clear, making it clear.
Okay, so I think that needs to be H, exclusion of mayor and city council members from staff meetings. Mayor, I think that needs to be, this should not be in the ethics ordinance. I agree with everything else. I mean, are you okay with the language that was read, but H? I think that we probably need to have further discussion, and that needs to be maybe a separate resolution, but I'm okay with everything else.
I am too, and I need clarity on H, because the heading says exclusion of mayors, and now you're saying that they would be allowed to attend.
No, in other words, it's saying exclusion. In other words, basically what people are saying, it has been said that they are excluded. They cannot attend the meeting.
Right.
But the charter does not say that. The charter says that we can attend meetings. I mean, I've not tried to go, but when I talk to our legal, it says the charter does not say council nor mayor cannot attend meetings.
With the
staff meetings, yes, staff meetings.
I actually am not actually that comfortable. I think there should be separation. And so I support everything else in this amendment, but I actually think we need to pull that in the day-to-day operation. So I don't think the mayor or city council should be sitting at staff.
So, well, we can have it either way. So if you want to say that they can't,
they cannot.
Mayor, and I will accept that.
I think we should just pull it out, period.
No, but I will accept that mayor nor council can attend staff meetings.
Well, actually, the ordinance is being sponsored by Pro Tem Brown and myself, so we will have to, is this something that we are willing to accept?
Actually, point
I'm okay with everything else. I just think H needs to be pulled out, and we need to address that separately because it gets into operations, and I think it's out of the scope of the ethics ordinance. What does this have to do with ethics? This has to do with operations.
All right, so I just have a point of order. A few of us went to the National League of Cities Conference in Charlotte. It was amazing. I attended a great workshop called Jurassic discuss parliamentary procedure, and friendly amendments do not have to be accepted by the authors. We can just take a straight up or down vote on the amendment, so we don't have to go through acceptance or whatever. We can just. That's what she said. Yeah, we make it out.
Let me ask you a question, just for clarity. On that H, is it H? Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any restriction? Would there be any restriction to mayor or council person who attended that meeting, talking directly to an employee?
Yes, under the city charter, any communication from the mayor and city council has to go through the city manager. And so the charter would still control over the language in subsection H. And so that's why subsection H reflects the intent of the charter to have that provision in place.
And I'm sorry, I wasn't informed. My next question, I had a question after that, and that was, we have no city manager, we haven't had one for like a month. So how would this function with our city administrator?
So, as has been discussed previously, the mayor has exceptional executive authority over the city at this point. If the city administrator, as was noted earlier, there's the duties of which are not stated. If those duties are in line with what would be consistent with the city manager, then you would have to go through the city administrator. The charter prohibits the direct control of city employees by members of city council, and so that's.
So is it your judgment that? So we have this city administrator. The position doesn't exist in the charter. We haven't created any powers for this position. So in the absence of doing that, is it right to assume that our mayor has all of the powers and duties of the city manager in our city charter?
Looking specifically at, I believe what you're getting at is an example of whether if the mayor was at one of these staff meetings and so was a council member, I think the hypothetical is kind of what you're presenting. Who would a city council member go to then deal directly with staff? Is that the point that?
I'm asking that hypothetical, but I'm also asking generally, does our mayor have all the powers and duties of a city manager in our charter?
Yes, in the absence of a city manager, the mayor is the executive of the city, and is the executive of the city regardless of whether there's a manager here or not.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to say this. With the employees that we have, and the things that have gone wrong since May 1st, if they have an employee meeting and 7 of these folks show up, it's going to be intimidating. And the free flow of conversation is not going to happen. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. And that's all I have to say about it.
And so just to be clear, even if, and the reason that I ask these questions, even if we were to accept this amendment and to pass this ordinance, and we accepted your language for section H, which said that none of us could come, the mayor can still come because
nobody can come.
No, because he is in effect our city manager. This is what our attorney has just opined for us. He is functioning as a city manager, so he can come to me.
Your point to me is moot. When someone leaves somebody got to run this city until we got the seat, until we can find somebody. So that's a moot point. We had this conversation. So until we can have a city manager, he's applying to what the responsibilities of the mayor. I don't want to be city manager. God knows I don't, but somebody's got to do the work.
Okay, so for the record, we have not had this conversation publicly. That's one. Number two, I was not making a point to you, Mayor. I was actually making a point to Councilwoman Jackson, that even if we pass this amendment, I want you to be clear that even if we pass this amendment and we ban the mayor from staff meetings, he can still walk in as the city manager, because those are the powers and duties. He has extraordinary powers and duties in this situation until we have a city manager.
Okay, so then what is the point? We're trying to find a city manager so that the mayor does not have to perform these duties. I don't care if you ban me from the meeting. I don't care. But somebody's got to fill these responsibilities until we do something. And I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to understand that. Go ahead. Go.
These are extenuating circumstances, but I do think that for my comfort level, Councilwoman Jackson, and I hear you saying you go either way, I would defer to us. I support neither being in the meetings. I understand that we are in a unique situation until we have a city manager, but I do not think we need to be in staff meetings, period.
And that's fine, I accept that, because basically all I'm saying is it needs to be one way or the other.
I understand.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept ordinance, given the amendments for Ms. Jackson.
I'm fine. There was another amendment by Gilliard, and I'm okay. No, but she sent it to us, and we're going to accept that. We're going to accept what she recommended as well. There was only one vote. What?
So in the original ordinance, the fourth whereas, second line, it should say operation of a democratic form of government.
Okay, so we're going to accept the amendments proposed. Well, I'm going to state it. We're going to accept the amendments proposed by Councilwoman Jackson, with the exception, we're going to accept H, but the exclusion is going to be no for all once we get a city manager in place. Right now, we're in extenuating circumstances, so the mayor has to perform his duties as city manager. But once we get a city manager in place, it would apply to all. Is that what you're asking? That's what you're saying? That's what you want H to say?
Well,
I want H to say.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
Yes.
I would just like it to be known for the record that the mayor is not currently acting as city manager.
Correct.
Are you?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. That's right, we just appointed someone. Let me clarify. Before we appointed Philip, he was acting as city manager. So today we did a city administrator. So we appointed a city administrator today. Thank you, I stand corrected.
So that means nobody's in the meeting. I get it.
So I made a motion to accept the ordinance, second.
Second.
I said I made.
Oh, second.
Yeah, second.
Can I ask one other thing? What about in terms of social media, Ms. Jackson? Does that include social media from this day?
You know what I'm talking about.
No, I'm just.
Yes.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
I mean, I read.
Well, no, nobody has any business doing it up here.
Okay, well, make that clear. When we say social media, it means not from
Period.
From this desk. Yeah, let's go.
I just want to make it known that I had also sent amendments up to the sponsors for this ethics ordinance.
However, after speaking with the attorney, the language is definitely something that we will have to look at forward. So I am stating for the record that I'm okay with moving this forward with the understanding that those amendments will be in our next council meeting.
Wait a minute. Amendments will be next council.
Whether it's the next meeting or not, I have spoken with her, and I do think some of her recommendations are good recommendations. It doesn't substantially change the intent of this. It allows us to move forward, and it really touches us on some other areas that I think will be good. Yeah.
I just was concerned because termination sounds like it's going to be automatically dealt with.
No, it really only helps.
Terms, she said it's going to be included in the next meeting. No problem.
That'll be an amendment. So, I did a second.
Okay, then properly moved in second. Doctor, you have a question, sir?
I have an amendment that I'd like to add.
What is your amendment?
I would like to amend the language of section U to say that no city official shall disclose or release any confidential information acquired by virtue of their office in a manner unauthorized by law. It is section 1-5004, paragraph
91. Paragraph, the last paragraph on page
Yes.
91. First topic.
No, okay. No city.
So just to be clear, I believe that the language currently sets a higher legal standard than its current precedent. There is no precedent for that. The current language limits our ability to disclose information to what is required by law versus what is authorized by law, which means that any time, well, let me just say, I think that language is imprecise and it sets a precedent that does not exist in law. So I would like for that language to read, no city official shall disclose or release any confidential information acquired by virtue of their office in a manner unauthorized by law.
So basically you're saying the same
What
thing.
laws under authorized? That would be my question. Council?
So, I mean, this could apply to several different bodies of law. There's, as you all know, a plethora of information that comes before you, whether it's related to HR or government contracts or personal identifying information, where there's different prohibitions on the release of that information. Information can be released in a way that is authorized by law, yet the information itself is not authorized to be released. So if I do have some concern if we say in a manner unauthorized by law, that actually speaks to the way in which information is released and not to the information itself. And I think the intent of this section is to prevent any of the confidential information that is put before the council, whether in executive session or by virtue of your positions in the city, to ensure that all that remains confidential and that there are no personal private gains derived from that information.
So may I ask, because the way the language currently exists, it says that we cannot release information unless required by law or authorized by the city. So that means even if I am authorized by law to release information, I still can't do it unless I'm required by law to do it or unless I get permission from the city. I mean, that's how it currently reads. Am I incorrect in my?
Well, we were just tracking the language in the charter on that. It's section 2.15. That's I would disagree that your interpretation would limit in that regard. I mean, this language mirrors the language in the charter and is commonly understood that it would prevent the release of confidential information.
All right, so I still believe that the language that I propose does prevent the release of confidential information in a manner unauthorized by law. So I do thank you for your opinion, but I would still like to make that motion that we amend the language to: no city official shall disclose or release any confidential information acquired by virtue of their office in a manner unauthorized by law. That is my motion.
Second.
They got to accept the motion.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, that's not correct. Robert's rules does not require the author of a bill to accept of an amendment. Is that correct, Council?
In my understanding of Robert's rules, that's correct.
Thank you.
I have a question though. If this is the language that's in the charter, why would we change the language to have any kind of conflicting language?
That would be a policy decision. I would say that in the phrase "in a manner authorized by law," authorized by law is modifying manner and not the release of information, which speaks to how the information is released, not whether the information should be released, just in the syntax of that sentence.
I'm comfortable with the language, the way that it's written. I mean, basically, the language is saying the same thing, that we have to have, we don't need this to hold us up. I think we need to move forward with the vote. I mean, the language is basically saying the same thing. So, I mean, I'm comfortable with the way the language is.
Is there, Mr. Clerk, is there a motion in a second?
Yes, second.
They could use the second one?
Yes.
Yes, you do. On the motion as is, as you read here. Is that your second?
I had the motion on the floor initial. I gave the initial motion. Councilwoman Willis seconded my motion. The lead made an additional amendment.
Let's deal with this. Let's deal with the first motion.
In my motion, when I second the motion, it included all of the amendments proposed by Councilwoman Jackson.
Right. Let's deal with that motion first. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand, please. That passes unanimously.
So now you state the motion to amend section 5(1)(5004), paragraph E.
You want to comment on that?
So the only thing I wanted to weigh in is, I think the vote that just occurred adopted Councilwoman Jackson's amendments as proposed.
Right.
There was discussion of an amendment to those amendments that would go from allowing others in to allowing no one in. And so if you want to amend it so that the rule would be that no one could come in, you'll need a separate amendment to do that.
I thought she stated
She
it.
stated that before we make the motion.
Okay, okay, so we're going with that, so we're amending the document based on the oral,
Can you tell me what we're doing right now?
My understanding is that you were voting on the amendments that have been passed out. And there was going to be an amendment to that document. The amendment to that document would flip the meetings. So if it's the intent of council that what you voted on is different from the document that's there, we can make that change. But I was basing it on voting on a document as opposed to voting on a discussion. Is that, am I making
That's
more
what
sense?
I was kind of shaky about, because we've got a motion, the original motion passed.
Correct.
And now I'm assuming there's trying to be another motion.
I think the cleanest thing to do, and what I understood you to do, is you have a motion to consider the underlying ordinance, which is there. You have now moved and passed to amend that ordinance based on the document that has been passed out. The cleanest thing to do is if you want to change the language of this, which has been passed out, to flip it from everyone can go to no one can go, that would be best done in a separate motion to amend it.
We're past that. We just voted on it.
So the motion that without second, what was motion is that we accept Rosie Jackson amendments, and then I specifically said with the change to age, so it would include no one.
That's exactly what I said.
So a motion to adopt an amendment.
And so we voted on that to adopt this ordinance with Rosie
Yeah, that's
Jackson's
exactly what she
amendments.
said.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Mr. Clerk?
Okay. I'm sorry, did we make a motion, did we make a motion to accept this ordinance, or did we make a motion to accept these amendments?
Not yours.
Proposed by.
So we've accepted both the ordinance and the amendment. Absolutely.
Yes.
The one amendment.
Am I allowed to amend an ordinance that we've accepted? Am I allowed to make a motion to amend an ordinance that we've accepted?
You had a motion.
But it was in the middle of discussion.
No, that wasn't. We had a motion on the floor, we had discussion, the original motion, and then we voted on it. During that time, there was another motion trying to work its way in.
Let me ask the question in a different way. After we have voted to approve an ordinance, what is the time delay, if any, before we can make an amendment to an ordinance that we've approved?
Now, that's a better question.
You could, and I'm sorry, I guess I'm being generous tonight, but I thought you were voting first on the amendments and not the ordinance itself. But that was a discussion that just happened. But presuming that the vote was to adopt the ordinance as amended by Councilwoman Jackson, as articulated by Councilwoman Willis.
Right.
And Gilliard. Well, I think Councilwoman Willis's amendment included Councilwoman Gilliard's. So if that's the case, then you could go to a motion to reconsider so that the further amendments could be considered.
That's what I was thinking. We already voted, it was gone. Now, if you somebody wants to reconsider, I think that's the proper way to go. But you have to get the full vote to reconsider.
I would like to make a motion to reconsider Amendment 2017-031 with the amendment to Section 1-5004, paragraph U, to read, no city official shall disclose or release any confidential information acquired by the virtue of their office in a manner unauthorized by law.
It may be cleaner if it were just a motion to reconsider the last vote and not reconsider and then amend on top of that. I think that the motion has to be to reconsider. Once it's reconsidered, then your motion to amend what was being considered would be timely.
Is there a second on this motion?
Yes, it was a second a long time ago.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Mr. Clerk?
Mr.
Clerk,
it was a motion to reconsider. That was the second one before.
Well, we can do it again. I would like to make a motion to reconsider ordinance 2017 whatever this ordinance is. 2017-31.
Second. Probably move the second. Any discussion? Hearing. Let's go.
So just for clarification purposes, we're going to amend and adopt this ordinance tonight so we can get the certification, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The deadline for filing the ordinance with the Georgia Municipal Association is the 30th.
The 30th, okay. And then at that time, if there are some more proposed amendments,
Yep.
that can be done.
Exactly.
As long as we have the opportunity to have it in by the 30th, correct?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, raise your hand.
To reconsider.
This is reconsider.
Whether to vote.
Reconsider.
That was a motion to reconsider, am I correct? That's the motion that's on the floor, been seconded by Mr. Davis. There's no further discussion. I'm asking for the vote by raising your hand.
And
Just the language.
Just the language.
Okay, that passes.
No, we're reconsidering the ordinance. I mean, the vote.
The motion to reconsider was for the last vote.
Letter U.
That passes. 4-2.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to amend ordinance 2017-031, section 1-5004, paragraph U, to read, no city official shall disclose or release any confidential information acquired by the virtue of their office in a manner unauthorized by law.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Discussion?
Good.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. Let's go please by raising your hand. That failed. So like a 3 vote.
No, actually, I believe it's a tie. We have 3 of 6, so you will have to vote.
You get to break it down.
You get to break it down.
You know where I'm going.
Oh, we gotta get on the record.
I'm not accepting it. So let's move on. That's correct.
We still have to vote.
There has to be a vote to approve
Right, so now that you reconsidered the previous vote, all of the previous amendments that were made need to be, I mean, you can restate them, but I think I got them. And if you restate
I want to
them,
make, okay. I want to, I'm calling for the vote on ordinance 2017-031 to change the fourth whereas to Democratic, to accept the amendment proposed by Councilwoman Jackson with an amendment to section 8 to exclude the mayor and council from staff meetings. In the absence of the city manager.
Second.
I don't think you said that right. I don't think you said that right. Council, we were trying to get to the fact that because we do not have a functional city manager, okay?
So the, let me pull it up here. Subsection H, exclusion of mayor and city council members from staff meetings. The mayor and members of the city council may not attend or be present at any staff meetings conducted by the city manager with city officers or employees to the extent that their presence conforms to the requirements of the city charter. However, in the case when there is no city manager, the mayor may direct the staff meetings.
And you were reading that from the charter, right?
Yeah, but that didn't, I didn't say that.
That wasn't part of the amendment.
That's what I understood. The intent was to allow the mayor to be present at the staff meetings.
No.
It looks like we have another misunderstanding of our council.
Well, you may have a misunderstanding your council, but we have been running this city in this manner for a while. And to put someone who is the department head in the midst of transition and other things, it just does not make sense, sir.
We just made a vote.
Okay, what you mean? That just don't make sense.
Well, I mean, it's fine, but we just made a vote. A majority.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Jackson, is that the amendment that you proposed that our council just read? Is that what you proposed?
No, it's not.
Yeah, I apologize. I was trying to discern the intent of how you wanted subsection H to read.
Right. That no sense.
Again, I think the point is we are in an interim period. So until we have a city manager, basically the charter is going to supersede basically what you're saying because he's standing in. Is that where we are?
So the charter will, yes. So the charter will always supersede. Right now, he has extraordinary executive authority, as we've discussed, under the charter.
Because we don't have an interim, because we don't have a city manager.
Because we don't have a city, and that was my intent with my recommended change, was in the absence, when there is no city manager, that the mayor may attend, and I apologize, I thought that was the intent of the council based on the discussion. I'm sorry?
You have a copy of the resolution?
I do.
Yeah. He's saying, but even with this, he's saying that the charter is gonna supersede it because we don't have a city manager. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. So technically, if we have a city manager January 30th, this applies.
So the council could just put the no in. The mayor and members of the city council may not attend or be present at any staff meetings conducted by the city manager with city officers, et cetera, with the understanding that the charter is just going to supersede that when there's no city manager. Was that the intent?
That's it.
Okay. So there's add a not before the may in the second line of subparagraph 8. That's right, and strike presence in the final line and include absence. So the new subsection will read, exclusion of mayor and city council members from staff meetings. The mayor and members of city council may not attend or be present at any staff meetings conducted by the city manager with city officers or employees to the extent that their absence conforms to the requirements of the city charter.
Okay.
It's been,
No, we have to vote again.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we adopt.
Councilwoman Willis, you all have this motion on the floor right now. Mayor Pro Tem Brown made the motion and seconded by Councilman Baker.
right.
With the changes
With
as
all of the
recommended by
amendments that you read
Attorney
into the
Doug.
record.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. That's 5-1. Mr. Kamlu voted against. But that passed.
Okay, the next ordinance, Mr. Mayor and members of council, also for second reading, which means that it's in front of you for voting purposes as well. Adoption of an ordinance to impose a surcharge on all fines imposed for violations of ordinances governing public parks and recreation facilities in the city of South Fulton, ordinance 2017-032.
I'll accept the motion if that's your wish.
I make a motion to pass ordinance 2017-032.
Yes, sir.
Second.
All right, second. Properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go right ahead, sir.
I don't think we need to pass this ordinance tonight. We are operating parks over for 7 months until June of 2018. So there's no hurry to pass this ordinance this evening.
Can I say something? The ordinance won't be in effect until Parks comes over, right?
The section 4 of the ordinance reads that it'll be effective immediately upon the adoption of the city council. But if I may, I think there's a distinction between operating the Parks and Rec, which is the transition side, but also having ordinances that impact what occurs in Parks and Rec. And so the violations under Fulton County's ordinances that this surcharge would apply to would be violations of current current Fulton County Parks and Rec ordinances. So for example, discharge of firearms, alcohol violations, loud and boisterous conduct, dogs not on leashes, etc. It's violations that occur within the parks. And so when you adopt those type of ordinances, that's when this would apply.
It's really effective immediately.
Yeah.
Yes.
So help me out. When a violation occurs in the park in February, does this apply?
If you have adopted from Fulton County those rules of parks in terms of what you can and can't do in parks. You can do that even if Fulton County is operating the parks, which is I think the transition piece.
Right.
you can adopt an ordinance that will say these things cannot be done in parks, and then this charge would apply to that. So we're adopting the surcharge first, because I think it helps the court in terms of its setting the budget and so on. And so the next thing we will do is adopt the Fulton County ordinances as it relates to conduct that violates the parks rules.
So our court would have jurisdiction over the parks before June, over what happens in the park?
Yes.
Can you explain how I'm confused?
Sure, because if you adopt ordinances, for example, that prohibit certain activity within the parks, Fulton County will be operating those parks in the sense that they're doing the landscaping, they're doing, the other things that the county currently does to operate. But if somebody walks into that park and discharges a firearm, the police could cite that person, arrest that person, and that could be tried in the municipal court of the city of South Fulton. And then this charge would apply.
Right. Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, aye? That passes with Mr. Kamul voting no.
Roman numeral 3 for second reading, amendment to ordinance number 2017-018, rules of the road, ordinance to amend Title 8 of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances to impose a surcharge on all fines imposed under Title 8 for specific purposes. This is police tech retention and recruitment, ordinance 2017-033.
I'll entertain a motion if you so choose.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2017-033, amendment to ordinance 2017-0118.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's properly moved and second. Any discussion? Mr. Kamul?
Yes, more surcharges for people. What are these surcharges for?
There are two surcharges, each $10, each for convictions, pleas of guilty or plea of no contest. One is for technology, that's court technology, and the technology needs of the police department. And the second is for payment to recruit and retain well-qualified police officers.
So I would like to ask a hypothetical. If I'm a young person in a park and I'm charged with loitering and I have to go to municipal court and I plead no because I can't afford a lawyer, even by pleading no, I have not pled guilty, I still would have to pay these surcharges. Is that correct?
That's the judge's decision.
That's okay. So it's with the discretion of, so all of these are at the discretion of our judge. Okay.
This is made, it's shall.
Yeah, I guess shall sounds compulsory.
Well, it was always the intent. The judge had the discretion whether to do it or not. So we need to change the word. We just need to change it, Judge.
That's fine. In addition, I have discretion to commute any monetary fines to community service at my discretion. And that doesn't change my understanding from council, is that doesn't change even though the statute says shall.
That's correct.
Okay, so we can leave it alone, in other words, we can leave it as is.
Councilwoman Bell?
So the technology charge of $10, so if I get a ticket in the city of South Fulton and I go online to pay it, I'm gonna be charged $10?
If you go online, if you choose not to come to court.
Oh,
So if you choose just to pay it, I want to pay the ticket and I don't want to come to court, I don't want to talk to the judge, I don't want any judicial discretion, then you can do that, and then the surcharges would add. If you want consideration as it relates to the reduction of the surcharges, then you'll have to come to court, and we can talk about it. Because other than that, there'd be no way for me to even know that if you have an issue with the surcharge and you can't pay it, or there's some extenuating circumstances, you need to come to court, and we can sort it out at court. Whether it's a plea and arraignment, we have motions, calendars, all those things, and there's time to deal with those issues.
So if I get a ticket in the city of South Fulton on my bill, there will possibly be a $10 charge for technology and a $10 charge for recruitment. So
Correct.
$20 will be off the top.
Correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
An easy way to avoid all of these surcharges is don't commit crime in the city of South Fulton.
Actually, that's not true. You can be charged with a crime even if you don't commit one. And the only way to avoid it would be to take off work to get out of these $20 charges.
With respect, that's not necessarily true. We are proposing a night court option to accommodate citizens' calendars, so that there'll be a daytime option and a nighttime option. There's morning court, afternoon court, and evening court.
That's awesome.
So there are plenty of options should you desire to resolve your matter in a way that's not simply paying the ticket online or calling and paying or mailing it in, or however you choose to do it. There'll be ways that we can accommodate that person.
And so you're saying that if I get a ticket for something, I will have the option to pick morning, afternoon, or night court?
No, the citation will read as the citation reads. The officer, there are certain dates that we've given to the officer that they can initially assign. If you want to, we call it a reset. If you want to reset your court date, then you have to contact us, whether it's phone, email, whatever, and say, hey, I can't come to court this day, can I get a reset? And we will do that. The instructions that I've given my staff is that everyone gets one reset. So the first reset, you get.
And so to be clear, if I work in Alpharetta or I work at McDonald's and I can't take off, I can ask for this reset, and then I can ask for my court date to be at night because I work during.
Correct. We'll have a Wednesday calendar every Wednesday, 5:30.
And I'll be allowed to do that.
You will be allowed to do that.
One time.
With what?
One time.
One time. Yeah, we're not going to continuously do this, but that initial one time, one time.
And when people get this ticket, will they be advised that they have the option to reset their court date?
I'm not certain that language is on the ticket currently, but we can, it'll be on our website, it'll be everywhere.
Can we add it to the ticket? Is they already been covered?
Well, once we figure out the court locations so that we don't duplicate the tickets, we can add that, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second, yeah. All right, all those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Oh, we can put it on the ticket. Ms. Blair?
Next ordinance for second reading, Roman numeral 4, adoption of ordinance relating to the regulation of sexually oriented businesses in the city of South Fulton boundaries, to provide for definitions, to provide for the licensing of sexually oriented businesses, to provide for maximum fees and penalties for violation of this chapter, to provide for appellate rights, to provide for severability, to provide an effective date, to repeal all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith and for other purposes. This item is co-sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Rao and Councilwoman Jackson under ordinance 2017-034.
Ordinance 2017-034 is a follow-up to the work session presentation that was presented to the council and the public, and based on the data that shows that criminal stats and studies demonstrate that there are negative secondary effects associated with sexually oriented businesses, and the city desires to limit that negative secondary effect. Myself and Councilwoman Jackson moved to adopt ordinance 2017-034.
Second.
Probably moved in second, Mr. Clerk. Ms. Jackson's name was omitted to this resolution. He added it?
Right, during the adoption of today's agenda.
Okay, good. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. That's it.
Also for second reading, Roman numeral 5, amendment to ordinance number 2017-017 regarding municipal court, an ordinance to amend Title VII of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances to provide for quarterly report from the municipal court and for other purposes. This ordinance is item 2017-035.
I'll entertain a motion if you wish.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2017-035 to provide for a quarterly report from the municipal court.
Second. Properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Roman numeral 6, second reading, amendment to ordinance 2017-017, municipal court, and ordinance to amend Title 7 of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances to provide for the payment of costs incurred by the City of South Fulton by the defendant upon conviction. That's ordinance 2017-036.
I move to accept ordinance number 217-036, amendment to ordinance number 217-017.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously.
We're on to your first readings, Roman numeral 7 on page 4. An ordinance to amend the charter of the City of South Fulton, amending section 1.10, changing the name of the city to the City of Renaissance. That's ordinance 2017-037.
This is the first reading. Any discussion?
Yes.
Can I say a hand while you take it? No, you go first, please.
So I represent District 3, which encompasses Waccamaw and Cliftondale. And I could not get through my Thanksgiving holiday because I received several of your emails. I received several complaints about this process. If you're not getting my newsletter, please make sure to send me your email address. I sent out communication today explaining how we ended up with the name of Renaissance, and I included the tally sheet. What I will tell you, this is the first read. If you do not approve of this name, please voice your concerns. Please tell your neighbors come, voice your concerns. We only had 8 people to speak today, but I can promise you I received over 8 emails from the time that this happened up until today. We will be having a second read the next time we meet, and this name will be voted on. I have a record of voting in alignment with what my residents want. We need you to come to this meeting. We need you to be engaged, and we need you to speak up and speak out, not only to me, but to this entire council. Thank you.
Mr. Khalid?
Yes. I also have a newsletter. KhalidCares.com is where you can sign up, where you can see Mr. Video on the back corner. I'm really big on political education. And what I think we have not done is a good job of explaining why we had to vote for the name. So I just want to give you a few facts. The official state code of Georgia 36-35-4 requires 20% of voters to put a question on the ballot. So to be clear, if we wanted you all to vote for our city name, what would have to happen is that 20% of the registered voters, that's about 23,815 people, would have to sign a petition for each name that they wanted to appear on the ballot. So if you wanted Wolf Creek, that's 23,000. If you want to add Atlanta Heights, that's another 23,000. If you want to add another one, that's another 23,000. And just so you know, 23,815 people is nearly twice the number of people that even voted in the election for this city. So we would have to have 23,000 people for every name that you want to include on the ballot. Then, after we included those names on the ballot, and we had a vote, a citywide vote, which we would pay for at our expense, right? To have a citywide vote. If no name got more than 50% plus one of the vote, we'd have to have a runoff. So we'd have to have a second citywide election on the names, which again, you would also all have to pay for. Even though we don't have money for police and parks and enough staff for planning and zoning, we would have to pay for these elections. So the only way to do this was actually for us as a council to vote on the names. What was incumbent upon each of us was to reach out to as many people as we could in our districts and get our district's opinions. I think that many of us did that. Many of us held town halls. We had websites. We had things that we voted on. So this was the most efficient democratic process that we could do for the money that we have. However, if anyone is truly dissatisfied with the name, you can go out, collect 23,815 signatures, and we can put it on the ballot. We can change the name. We can do it every year. As long as you can get those signatures, we can have a vote. So I think that people should know that. It wasn't just that we were like, oh, we're just gonna make the decision. We're gonna take it upon ourselves to make the decision. You should know that this was really the only way to do it. And a majority of council people did vote for the name. I would also like to remind folks that Robert's Rules does state that after the body has made a decision, we are prohibited from saying that we voted against something. After we voted as a body, and that's again for cohesion. Someone said that we needed to be acting more as a group. So what needs to happen is after we make a decision, we all have to stand by it, even if we voted in the minority. That's what Robert's Rules calls for. Thank you.
I want to clear up something. You know, a lot of Robert Rules tonight.
Great class at
You know, yeah, I'm glad you did go. But there's also something called where our charter is explicit. All right? It's not explicit in Robert's Rules. Right. So it always goes back to the charter, unless it's explicit. Let me just say this to you guys. Renaissance, I've heard people call me and say, Bill, veto that. I'm tired of being that petty. Sit down and be on the TV again, Representative, about some petty mess. You see, it doesn't matter what the name is, as long as they're shooting houses in Point Ridge. Don't matter what your name is. What matters is, can you get that done? Can you get more police? Can you buy some more fire trucks? This place could have been called Lucifer. But it doesn't matter if you ain't getting nothing done. So I'm not going to wade in the pettiness of trying to veto something when we got too many other problems going on in this city. And we spend too much time on mess. So let's start changing the narrative. Let's start changing the conversation and start talking about what we're going to get done in this city. We don't waste enough time. We don't have a city manager. A name ain't gonna get you a city manager. We don't have as many employees as we need for obvious reasons. But a name ain't gonna get you these employees. All I'm saying is, I'm going forward with whatever it is. I'm gonna go forward with it. Was it my choice? No, but I didn't have a vote. Well, my choice, but I didn't have a vote. But I'm not gonna be so petty as to sit here and wage war. I got police to come over, they need badges. They need patches on their arm. They need something on the side of their police cars. Fire is the same way. Code enforcement the same way. I don't have time to be messing with you. And so, let's move on. Let's move on. My distinguished colleague said, take y'all 20-something thousand. I don't know about that, but I must go back and read up on that. But whatever it takes, you know. If citizens don't want, I think at the end, as years go by, everybody be all right. Y'all just gotta learn how to spell it. Once y'all learn how to spell it, y'all be all right. So it ain't the name, it's supposed to do with the name, what we do in this city. Right? Mr. Becker, you have.
Well, no, I appreciate that, man.
At some point, we have to come together, and I appreciate your statement.
Okay. All right, good enough. Okay, go ahead, that was first read. Mr. Clerk,
That's
next.
correct. Next item for first reading, adoption of insurance premium taxation ordinance 2017-038.
Any- Go ahead. Mr. Attorney.
Mayor, members of council, y'all have already adopted the insurance premium tax. In conversations with the Department of Insurance at the state level that enforces some of this, they recommended what is effectively 2 date changes. So what this ordinance will do is repeal what you've adopted in its entirety and replace it in its entirety with this to satisfy DOI. The insurance premium tax has not begun to be collected until January 1 of next year anyway. We just passed it as part of a group together tax ordinance, and DOI wanted it as a standalone ordinance.
Okay. All right, any conversation, any questions? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, next.
And your last ordinance for first reading, emergency ordinance to establish the convening of the municipal court at regular intervals. That is ordinance 2017-039. Last but not least.
Thank you, Ms. Massey. This is the schedule or the proposed calendars for the court. The dates are outlined, dates and times are outlined here. I will tell you the dates and times are outlined based on our proposed use of Union City's courtroom, so it coincides with the court availability. So, should I say it for purposes of the public, Mayor? What the calendars were? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're proposing that every Tuesday we hold plea and arraignment. Those will be held at 9:30 and 1:30 p.m. First and third Wednesdays at 1:30 we have a miscellaneous calendar where we'll handle code enforcement matters, as well as if should there be a matter that needs to come up, that is an appropriate time to handle it. Second and fourth Wednesdays at 1:30 we'll have motions calendars, probation status, and probation revocation hearings. That goes back to what I discussed with you, with council prior to my appointment, that I wanted to make sure that we were keeping track of our probationers, that we were not just having people on probation who can't pay, having difficulty paying. This is an opportunity. I've set a specific calendar aside when probation knows that we can always have a hearing. We can come in and we can talk about it, so that things need to be adjusted, they can be at that time. Also proposing that every Wednesday at 5:30 we have what's called a failure to appear calendar. That is really a catch-all calendar. That calendar will, if you miss the court date and you want to come and resolve it before a bench warrant is issued, you can show up. If there's a motion that you need to hear, you can show up. That's just that catch-all calendar that we talked about, Councilman Khalid, that allows people to just come in and resolve matters. They don't have to be on a calendar. Just if they missed it, they can show up. I think that the rule is, Ms. Cofield, 30 minutes before? 30 minutes, as long as they come in 30 minutes before and check in so that we are prepared for them, then they can just come in. And Thursdays at 10 and 5 are bench trial days.
Now, when you, on the second, by the time we get to the second reading, the item that we held will be ready, right?
Yes, sir.
So they can coincide with each other.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further comments, questions? Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
You have a question?
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I would add is that this is styled as an emergency ordinance because at the time that it was produced, we were going to have court next month. So if there's no action taken on it, it can be brought back up. This is a first reading, so that would qualify, but we would just amend it so you would see that the word emergency is not there. You can pass an emergency ordinance without 2 readings.
Any colleagues have a problem with that? Okay, that's good. Brian? Come on up and read it.
Good evening, Mayor and the City Council. We wanted to keep update of where we are with our finances, specifically on the many people have been asking where are we with the money that we borrowed, how are we spending the money that we borrowed, and we also have some obligations with the Fulton County for the services that they are providing to the city. So this is the layout of the services that we have with the Fulton County. The first one is emergency 911. They still provide, and it's not on the list of bringing them back to the city. And we have animal control. That one again, there's no foreseeable future that is coming to the city. We have police. That's you will see the amount there on police. That's 1,967,000. That's what we started with in May. That all those amounts are per month. So we used to pay in May 1,867,700 per month. Then from police we moved to code enforcement. That's now from the time code enforcement transitioned into the city, we are paying now per month for police services provided to the city is $1,720,357 a month. Fire and rescue, from May every month we pay $1,675,443. It's still there up to now. Where you have highlighted in green, these are departments that have already transitioned to the city, and therefore you see there is zero that we are paying to the county. Parks and recreation, again we are paying $480,155 a month. As you have heard, that one is not to come to the city until next year, June. We have business occupational tax. Again, it was transitioned from the county to the city, so we are paying nothing. Highway maintenance, we are paying $567 a month. Then we have the utilities, that's a light, street lights, we're paying $91,000. Then we have stormwater, $24,587. The other reduction that we have from the city is from the county is the last one of $26,288,000. That's the list for the building, municipal building that the city is occupying now. On the next page is on your left-hand side is the invoice that we get from the county. In the month of May, we were billed $5,257,388 a month. June, it was the same amount. In July, it was 4.9 because some departments had transitioned from the county, as I said, about code enforcement as well as the business occupational. Then in August, 4.9, so we paid in May, we paid in August, as you'll see, we paid in August the entire amount. Then in September, this is the amount that we paid from to the county. This one is for the month of September plus half amounts for each one of these ones because we didn't start paying until August. So in May we didn't pay, in June we didn't pay, July we didn't pay. All this one was in intergovernmental agreement with the county that we had to start paying in August. And in August as well, the county collected money on our behalf, $1.3 million. And in September, they collected on our behalf $369,500. So this is the total amount that we paid, and the majority of this money came from the time that we borrowed, that we started with in May. If you're asking how did you spend the money that you borrowed from the bank, the majority of that one was from here, plus what we receive on a monthly basis, sales tax, building inspection, in different revenues that we get. The majority of revenues, almost all of them, they are from community development services. So the total amount that we got from the county that they collected on our behalf is 1.7. So what we paid, what they paid on our behalf was $15.1 million. The total invoice from May through September was $25,144,625. This is the total invoice. But after reconciliation, end of September, the reconciliation was done in October. This became the actual cost from 25 million to 16 million. So this is the amount we incurred expense for those services. In addition, we had to pay this, they did these services on our behalf, coming to the total of $16,587,338. Then we had to pay the difference, $1.4 million, coming up to $16,585,338. At the end of September, what we were billed, 16 million, and what we paid, the entire 16 million, September 30th, we ended up with zero balance. Come October,
Talk about money, there you go.
You're pushing a few extra buttons over there. They're telling us to go home.
Make sure you cut back on our payment for this.
Right, on the intergovernmental agreement.
Yeah, cut back on the payment.
You can use your paper, they all
Why
have
don't you,
paper
why don't you just
copies.
do the numbers?
So in October, we had an invoice of $4.7 million. And out of that, because we didn't have enough cash flow, we couldn't pay the entire $4 million because we were expecting to have received tax money inflowing by October. Unfortunately, this year it didn't happen. The billing and collection delayed, so we didn't have enough to pay. Instead, we paid $2 million out of the $4.7 million. In November, we were billed $4.7 million. And in December, we have already been billed $4.7 million. All that one is yet to be paid. Hence, we need extra money in absence of tax correction. And that's the reason why last month the council approved to go and borrow another $10 million so we can pay what we owe Fulton County for the services they provide to us. So you'll see October is that we paid $2 million. We still have got this balance we haven't paid. November we billed this one, we still have got this balance we haven't paid. December we have already been billed, we have to pay by the 15th of the month. So we still have got this that we have not paid. Invoice, total invoice is $14,243,678. However, after reconciliation, that amount may go down. We don't know until the actual comes in. But as of now, we have got this to pay Fulton County, $12.2 million by end of December. Then January, because this one is thinking that Parks and Recreation was to be transitioned in January. So it moves from $4.7 million to $4.3 million because Parks and Rec was coming on January 8th. Then in February, you have reduced Parks, you would have also reduced Fire, would have only $2.7 million. In March, we would have reduced Parks, Fire, and Police. So we still have got $991,000 to pay for some of the services that will still remain with the county. So from January through March, we have this is the invoice, $8,089,884. If you see the total of from October through March, This is with parks still transitioning in January, which is not the case now. We have this total amount of 20,333,562 to pay the county. This is invoice. When it comes to actual, that 20 may come to 15 or 14. So if you ask what do you do with the money that we borrowed May 1 to start the city, part of that money has been used to pay these general obligations to the county for the services that the city receives. At the same time, we have received some revenues that has helped to be where we are. We are not in that good shape as it may be, because we have to pay that. After we pay that, we still have got to meet the services that we have to provide from January through September. Hence, we had to issue another $10 million to help us. That's where we are standing in case you have any question about where we are financially on the time that we have. The problem we had was not cash, but the main problem has been the cash flow. Yes, Mayor, you have a question?
Okay, go back to the first slide. I want to let people know. Right there. That's the money you're going to pay if we don't bring these departments over as fast as we can. All you Renaissance people. It's important that we bring those items over as fast as we can. If you see the ones in green, it says 0 now. We need all of them in 0. And we'll save a whole lot of money. The other thing I want to let you know is, during this recent deal with the tax, the appraiser, and the courts turning the tax bill down, when you see those ones where we didn't pay, that's because we didn't receive, because of that, we didn't receive our tax money, all right? So we couldn't pay. Because you just imagine being a new city and having to be involved with that stuff, having no fund balance, it was going to be impossible for us to continue to go on. But thanks to Frank Malazzi, who did an outstanding job in terms of talking to Fulton County and talking to the bank. And the bank was considered, because they understand that the lack of money was not our issue. It was not our fault. It was the fault of Fulton County, what they were doing on the tax bills. So we were very fortunate to get to where we are today. And on top of that, Mr. Malazzi, one question I did have, and that was concerning, and the Mayor Pro Tem told me, was concerning the election money.
Yes.
We were concerned about the fact that we weren't supposed to pay any of that. Is that correct?
Right. So,
Would you like
In part of the last rounds of the negotiations, there were some things that we obtained. One of the things we did not is Fulton County insisted on that we would pay the election piece.
When did that happen?
well,
That was at least in the last, certainly in the last version that was presented, and I believe it was there in one prior to that. The exchange on that was the quarterly true-up. That was all part of the negotiation. And the quarterly true-up, the amount we've saved on that, I think, is more than paid for the election.
And you see the IGA, actually at first I thought we did not, then I checked with the legal, it's in the IGA.
Mm-hmm.
well,
So when you say true up, you may save some money there. What do you mean by that?
Because and this was where most of the negotiations went back and forth, was the method by which we would determine what is the cost. Because under state law, the city is only required to pay the cost of providing services. It is budgeted as if it is the Fulton County 2016 budget. It is costing less for a host of reasons. Some has been just staff attrition, some has been that costs are less than were anticipated or based on the 2016 budget. Originally, that reconciliation was going to be done on an annual basis, and part of what we were able to obtain was that it was done on a quarterly basis, which, particularly given the situation with taxes, came to a real benefit of the city in the meeting we had in October at Fulton County.
Lastly, Frank, has anyone given you a figure of the cost of services for FIB?
They have not.
Attorneys, what's the deal with that?
With the FIB, in the last cost true up, there's a formula that Fulton County used. And if I recall correctly, the method they used was they looked at certain things they know come in from FIB on terms of revenue. So business licenses for businesses located in FIB, that's something Fulton County is going to be able to keep because it's in their territory. On the cost side, what they did is they took the average fire call, and they found that of all the fire calls that went out in the city and FIB had a certain percentage of that. I don't remember the exact percentage. Please don't take this as me suggesting or estimating what it is. Let's just say it's 20%. So they took that 20% and then applied it to the cost down the line. So if police were to cost $100, then we were assessed only 80 because they presumed that 20% of the police costs went into the FIB based on the fire numbers that they had. And it was a formula that was applied, I believe, across the board once they had that information.
Well, I hope I understand what you're saying, because FIB right now, we're the ones who's delivering service to FIB. Okay? Regardless of what they have in their head they want to do. So I'm saying that as a city, I'm saying that we should recoup the money that we put in. I don't know where they get this 20% stuff from, but I think that we should recoup the money that we put into it. So, I mean, here's what I'm saying. I don't want y'all to just take everything they say. You know, because we're gonna have to wind up suing these folks. And we need to be prepared for that. All I hear is true up, true up, true up. Well, when are we gonna get to the bottom where it's true up? And these are things to me that's just not reflective in these numbers. The amount of money we put in to Fulton Industrial Boulevard. And that's problematic for me. And they kept saying, well, we don't know how much income it is, we don't know how much revenue. But the tax people say that they paid over $18 million on FIB last year. They know that. So I don't understand why we're still doing this kind of stuff. So we need to demand the figures that we need so we can show. So we can show them in these figures. Because I may not owe them nothing if you give me my money. You know. So I need to have a number. I need to know what it is that I'm getting from FIB.
Yes,
yes. So I don't know if you have access to emails for early on. I sent an email to Fulton Board of Elections inquiring about how much it would cost, how much we were going to be charged for elections. And the response was because there was already an election in process that we were not going to be charged anything for our elections. So and that group was copied on that email.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Mr. Mester has left. I think we dealt with that one. We went through, he has got some information. But I think what you are saying is almost what we were told. So he has more information about that. Because we are already within if they are charging the county, we are already part of the county residents. Therefore, if they charge us, we will be charged twice.
Right. All right. And the other question is, we were supposed to get a capital budget within 30 days of passing our operations budget, and that never happened. Do you have an update on when we're going to be getting the capital budget? Because that is a requirement for our charter.
A couple of things that will be what is going to happen. Having said what we have said here, there is a lot that we need to do. We have to tighten up our belts. the budget that we adopted, the $65 million, may not be. We may need to make amendments because the expenses have to be in line with the revenues. So I want by the end of December, we'll have to look into what our inflows and what our expenditures. Then now at least we have a full-time budget manager who will be working on the capital improvement projects. It's just unfortunate the departments that have more of capital improvements are the departments that they are out. And we have limitation of how we can work with them because they are not our employees. We are at the whatever they can give time because they are busy working on the Fulton County budget.
But can't we do a projection based off of 2016 data and numbers? And I know I talked with you early on about this, and you talked about some maybe long-term financing for some of the projects that we may have that have an immediate need.
I have the good news. The good news is that I've got already 2 institutions that have already given us how much they can fund us. They will fund us. So I've already spoken with the Parks and Recreation. I've spoken with the police chief and staff about the capital improvement. I've not personally sat down with the police chief, but my staff has already done that. So we are working on that. But now the fact that there is a budget manager will look into capital improvement. So by December, end of December, we should be giving you tangible information on that.
Okay, do you need a resolution for that, or is that something that you?
I will get in touch with you.
Okay.
I will get in touch with you. Having said all this, what we are talking about borrowing here, I can't emphasize the help that I've got from the legal counsel. They have really been of helpful talking to Fulton County to even exempt us not to pay all those amounts that we have talked about. We are not to pay until we get our money sometime in January. So thank you so much for what you have done.
And I hear that. That's like pulling off a debt to tomorrow, okay? My biggest concern is that we eliminate all the debt that we have with Fulton County, because I want to also tell you that there's a possibility of $1.4 million that they owe us in 911. I have a conversation with you, Mr. Malazi, and Josh about that. Because they want us to pay for something we already paid for over the years. So I'll get with you all on that. But just make sure that we get all our money. That's the big thing. I mean, they've been very difficult. 2 things: we get our money, and we bring over these large departments as fast as we can. And then you're gonna see a difference in your budget. Right now, Fulton County is wearing us out.
That's very true, because you think about 1.80, 1.6 paying, because there's more into that. There's a non-agency that we can't see here. So if we can bring them, they may be, you will be making decisions. Right now, we're at the mercy of the county. What they do with the money or how they provide services, you have no say on that.
What are the franchise fees, if you get those?
We are moving.
Almost there.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
We'll be getting, because the franchise, most of those ones, they are tied to taxes. And we will not be getting some of those ones until April.
Okay, well, I
But
get them. I mean, I signed for them.
Right.
You know, and I wonder why we're not doing it, why we haven't gotten any yet. So we got, you're right when you said we don't have a cash problem, we got a cash flow problem.
Cash flow, correct.
And I'll be glad when the cash flow catch up with us.
Let me start here.
Or you there now?
Temporarily, just for now. The mayor
Go ahead. Mr. Kamu, go ahead.
Just for the record, it is Kamabu, but that's why I go by Councilman Khalif's position, it's hard to say. But our average monthly IGA payment, what is that? Like once you kind of factor out when we've overpaid or chewed up or whatever, what is that?
This is what we pay every month.
4 million.
4.7, we started with the 5.2.
Got you.
So as you see, October, November, December, and then until you bring another department, that one will go down, as I showed you the last.
Right, and just to reiterate for the benefit of the audience, fire and police, which we are still bringing over in March and February, are the two biggest numbers in that 4.7 million.
Correct.
The local option sales tax payments, I know that we haven't always met like that $2 million projection that we had. What are we averaging per month at that?
So far, the list that we got is 1.8 million. So it's actually it was only once. So it's 19 to 21 to $2.1 million. So we're expecting maybe now it has already come. It has to come before 1st of December for October.
But every month we are getting around $2 million.
That's our main revenue as of now, yes. So we will be getting anything before October, December 1 for the month of October. We are 1 month behind.
Yes, I just want to mention that because I want to encourage people to keep shopping in South Fulton. If you need to buy a car, buy it in South Fulton. Don't be running to Fayetteville and all these other places because the more you shop in South Fulton, the more that $2 million that we get. But seriously, will we, so we've mentioned that we're going to be delaying parks until June.
And we'll be paying the 480 every month until June.
Right. Is there any savings in that? Is that 480 less than what we would actually pay to operate parks?
As long as the department is there, there's no saving. Actually, it's more expensive to pay while they are there than in-house.
Okay, and then about that, I know that there was an issue when we were talking about bringing them over. This accrual of PTO time or whatever. What's the situation?
The more they stay there, they will charge us when they are leaving. We discussed that last time with the Councilwoman Willis. The more they delay, the more the accumulation of non-paid leave.
So all of those vacation days,
we will be responsible.
We'll have to pay that out.
Correct.
Their balance. All right. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
In the process, I think I got lost in some of my questions, but I think, generally speaking, I think you answered most of them. Is the administrative fee included in this monthly payment?
Yes, it is included. Administrative fee, pension, IT, everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Ms. Clerk?
Yes, that would be me.
Thank you on the
Next on the agenda, mayor and city council comments, 2 minutes each.
I'll start with Mr. Baker. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Be real short. I'd like to thank the people who are still here from District 7 who came out. And I'd like to request any parents who have students at Renaissance Middle School to please have your children to reach out to the Dean of Discipline, Mr. Stewart, in reference to the Ambassadors Initiative. I'll be on campus tomorrow, and we'll be working on the Ambassadors Initiative where we're building a city at Renaissance Middle School, as well as those of you who have students at Langston Hughes High School. Please reach out to the assistant principal, Ms. Rashida Armstrong, in reference to the initiative of the youth delegation. It's an initiative that myself and Councilman Khalid spoke about starting after leaving NLC conference, the National League of Cities conference. And if you have any reach to any young men who are troubled, who are getting into trouble on a regular basis, who have issues, please reach out to me. Mark.baker@city-of-south-fulton-ga.gov. I will be at Next Level Boys Academy on Saturday, this Saturday and every other Saturday. It's not a weekend of a holiday. At 8:00 a.m. to 11. Just please give me the courtesy of an email if you want to send someone who
probably need to be around the circle like that, male mentors. And my number is 404-782-9583. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Jackson?
Just want to thank you guys for coming out tonight, and thank you, Ms. Amisis. You all, you want to stand up? That's my legislative assistant, and those of you from District 5 that are here, I don't think anybody's still here, but those of you that are here, I do have a, I saw a newsletter that I have that came up tonight. But anyway, I'm proud of that, okay? But anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for coming, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you all for coming, all residents that came out, and I would encourage you to stay engaged because this is your city and these are your seats, and we need to hear from you so that we know how to vote. I want to thank all of the emails and all of the text messages that I received of condolences to my husband for losing his father. I received many of them. I didn't make a public announcement, but it got out some way. And I want to thank you all for, and especially the law enforcement community that reached out to him for sending your prayers and your thoughts. I want to make this announcement. Commissioner Arrington does this every year, and I love this. It's the he does this in collaboration with the sheriff office, and it's the Dads and Daughters Dolls Collection. So they are collecting dolls at the Fulton South Annex, and also the Fulton Government Center and Hope Hill Family Center. They're collecting dolls, and the time they're collecting dolls are from December 5th to the 9th, and the time is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And they're collecting dolls for the inmates who have daughters. And what they do is they get together, they wrap the dolls, and they present the dolls to the daughters of inmates who cannot be out for their kids' Christmas. So I would ask that you support this initiative and bring your dolls. You don't have to worry about wrapping them, but they are for the ages of 1 to 12. And I would
That's it.
okay, that's it.
That's it.
Good evening to everybody who came out. A couple of quick announcements. In District 1, we're working with Atlanta Regional Commission on planning a livability focus group that's coming up on December 4th. And so we have residents from District 1 participating in that process. Also working with Airtropolis Greenway Project, which will come across Districts 1, 2, and 3 in our city. And so we're going to make sure we have residents from those districts weighing in on what they want to see in terms of green trails across our city, because it cuts across 3 districts. So we're involved in those conversations, and we're working with those agencies to make sure our stakeholders have input. So please respond to the email that I sent out to complete the survey, and that's about it.
In the words of Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to all of the residents that came out tonight, and then also too in District 2. I want to make sure to encourage each and every one of you, if you are not receiving my newsletter, to please send me an email so you can have my communication. It's very thorough, so I do encourage you to do that as well. And also, I would challenge each and every one of you to make sure that you go out and set up your neighborhood watch program. I do want to thank the Fulton County Police Department that worked very closely with me. Also, neighbors in the community, this is something that we need, and this is something that we can do to protect our community with our limited resources. And lastly, I'm excited, and I will invite all of my council members out to bring out the Dolls Atlanta. This is our first inaugural event that we will be having at St. James Live on December 14th at 7. We are collecting dolls, and we're partnering with The Purpose. Here during the holiday season, we will be donating dolls to the City of Refuge
which is a homeless shelter in Atlanta for homeless women and children, and then also too, some children from South Fulton foster care will also be benefiting. So I do encourage you all to come out to that. Bring dolls. We'll be making dolls that look like you. Even the men are encouraged. You can bring action figures as well. So again, thank you all for all that you do, and I enjoy representing District 2. Thank you.
Friday, December 1st is World AIDS Day. African Americans are still disproportionately affected by this disease. Some of the highest impacted zip codes are in Southwest Atlanta and in our city. If you need an HIV test, you can go to hiv.gov to find out the nearest location. We had Thanksgiving at my house this year, and they are working on the gas lines in my neighborhood. So they dug everything up. So Thanksgiving Day, or a couple days before Thanksgiving, I had no gas, I had no heat, I had no cable. Everybody was coming to my house. I had no stove to cook a turkey in. But we worked it out. I got most of the services cut back on, and everything was good because my family was there. We bought like a fried turkey from Popeyes. My cousin had a little fire stick hooked up. But I say that because we got a lot of stuff going on. I'm trying to get our services going here. But up here, we're family, and we're going to be all right. Just like y'all's family, we didn't choose each other. We don't like each other all the time. We got feisty aunts, a stubborn uncle, and that one weird cousin. But you know, we're going to be all right because we got each other. That's all we got. And one day, we're going to tell a happy story about our first Thanksgiving in Renaissance. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'm stubborn cousin. Uncle, whatever it is. Stubborn uncle. This I want to do something because I forgot to do earlier. I've been ready to recognize our President Derek Jackson. Thank you for coming. We appreciate all you do. And also former Representative Virgil Flood is here. Okay, I just want to say it because it was here. But anyway, it's been great. Have a safe trip home and see you next week. All right, second. All right, will you second? Raise your hand. Raise your hand.